Hello and welcome back to the channel. As you can see, things are very different. They might be working, they might not be working. I don't know yet. I haven't seen in the edit. So this might not even make it to air, but if it has, well done me for doing something different. Today, we're going to be talking about Philip Walter Foden, a player that I hold in very high regard, and the comments made about him by England manager Gareth Southgate. Ooh, conflict of interest for me. Before the Scotland game, saying that in a nutshell that he can't play midfield, or he won't be playing midfield for England, and a few little digs in there which sparked up a lot of debate online. Obviously he was getting a bit of flack beforehand and this kind of added fuel to the fire, so I'm here to break down what he said and tell you that he was being a nincompoop. Firstly, I want to get this out of the way very quickly. I'm extremely biased in this. I think Foden is one of the best players England has. I think there's only really Kane, Bellingham and Saka on current form better than him. That includes Grealish as well. I do think Foden, the disrespect he gets is very, very unfair. But as I said, I'm extremely biased. So this is hopefully going to be a bit more analytical, a few more statistics in there, rather than me just yelling into a microphone about how much I love Philip Walter Foden. So what exactly were the comments? Well, I've got it right down here, so I'm gonna look, but just use the voice and I'll put my mouth over Gareth Southgate or something. He doesn't play centrally for his club, Southgate commented. Presumably there's a reason for that. It depends on the level of the game. In the middle of the park, everyone wants to talk about with the ball, but there's a lot of detail without the ball. You have to be spot on with pressing angles, your responsibilities, and if you don't get the flow of the game. You'd have to speak to Pep, who is the best coach in the world, who plays him from wide. He's always got the freedom to drift if we play him wide. That's important. So let's break this down. He doesn't play centrally for his club. This is categorically wrong. Yes, he doesn't on paper play most of his games recently in the centre of the pitch, obviously out wide. Obviously you can see here in 2022-23, majority of his games did come on the left. But if you look at his career as a whole, and yes, this does include kind of some under 18 games and some academy games and PL2 I think as well, he does play very centrally. And even with the 2022-23, there are still games down the centre. And even when he does start on the wings, he does usually drift into the middle, taking those spaces between the midfield and centre-backs, and sometimes breaking between the centre-backs, or definitely at least the centre-back and full-back, to make a kind of penetrating run. So in a nutshell, yes, he does play centrally at Manchester City. It depends on the level of the game. Now this is the part that particularly irked me. It makes me feel like he's kind of waffling, throwing out some statements that I don't think even he believes in, because you can't have a person who's just come off the back of a treble not know levels of the game. Foden has notoriously performed in big games. I can remember the Liverpool game where he scored that absolute scream with a little touch and the bang. The UCL final, was teamed under immense pressure. Probably the worst team on the day. Comes in, spins, gives us a good chance. Yes, he doesn't finish it, but still gets us a great chance. And if you just look at his kind of raw goal and assist numbers against big teams, it's extremely good. So without doing like the proper calculations, he's pretty much got a goal contribution every other game against big sides. This includes Real Madrid. Obviously you can see, I'd now put it there, Real Madrid, probably the biggest side in the world, some would say. To not understand a level of the game does baffle me, considering he's played at the top and performed at the top. So yeah, this one irked me quite a bit, because Phil Foden can play at any level, will play at any team, and would be great in any team. So it just pissed me off a bit. So no, Mr. Southgate, it doesn't depend on the level of the game. But there is a lot of detail without the ball. You have to be spot on with your pressing angles, your responsibilities, and if you don't get the flow of the game. Okay, so we all know how Foden is phenomenal on the ball. He's this kind of first of this new breed of elite technical England talent, like stuff that we haven't seen before. Obviously Kane's a bit different, Kane's an anomaly, but the crop coming up now are just different technically, and I think he was the kind of first one to come through. We've seen it for years and we know how good he is on the ball. But what about without? To be fair, this is a perfectly valid statement. It's all well and good having a midfielder or a winger doing all the attacking work, providing nothing defensively. This day and age in football, to be a top team, you have to be performing both ends of the pitch as an individual player, not just as a team. You as an individual have to be pressing from the front. You have to be charging your man down. You have to be working back if he's beaten you, or if it's been a diagonal ball. You have to work back these days in any position. But as I said, to be a top team, you have to do that. Every player has to do that. And so who is at the top? Manchester City. And who plays for Manchester City? Philip Walter Foden. Did it wrong there, but you get it. Admittedly, his raw defensive numbers are pretty weak. You can see here. But obviously that's because of City's possession. If we're going to have the ball a lot of the time, there's not going to be much opportunity for our attackers to put in decent defensive numbers. So obviously wingers and attacking midfielders in other teams will be having to do a bit more defensive work when you come up against City. But Man City don't come up against Man City. They come up against other teams. So rarely will he have the opportunity to put in those defensive performances. I don't know. It just like Phil Foden puts in enough effort. You can see that with his pressures. You can see that with his recoveries. Yeah, like his raw numbers aren't there because obviously we're a high possession side. Yeah, bit of a silly point. And to knock a 22-year-old who doesn't understand the flow of a game, a player who pretty much is on course to, at least let's say, win as many honours as all of the clubs that Southgate played for, does take the piss a bit. All in all, I think Southgate was rattled by a question asked in a press conference. I don't think it's anything to do with Foden particularly. I think it must be really, really annoying being consistently undermined when you, as a manager of a national side, has done more for them than they have pretty much ever. As a manager, it's very hard to argue that he isn't the best or hasn't performed the best for England. So to have people consistently undermine you on every decision must be really frustrating. And I think this time he accidentally, unintentionally took out on a player and got a bit of flack online for it. Obviously it's harsh and you should never use a player as a kind of deflection tactic. We've seen it with Mourinho before and it's definitely not gone well. And to be fair, he did say after the game, he did praise him after the game, as I said before, the midfield balance, this, that, the next. I do think he's right in backing Maguire though. I think it's unfair treatment, but it's just inconsistent and I don't like that. So that was my rant about Gareth Southgate's comments about Philip Walter Foden. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a like. If you, I don't know, like this, I put a bit of effort in today. Put a bit of effort in. I'll see how it goes. It could be for nothing. I can imagine it will be for nothing. But if you did enjoy, please hit the subscribe button. Also, comment saying that Phil Foden's the best of this new crop of talent. Maybe the fourth best, I think that's fair. And I'm the best. Comment that I'm the best. Do that. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Love you, bye.
Love you, bye. Love you, bye.